My husband Dave will inherit the house, the inheritance of $3 million, and the director position.
Upon hearing that a lawyer was present for Tosh's inheritance proceedings, Lily could not hide her joy. Entered the living room as if she owned the place. Lily, who had always been pressing with questions like what's happening with the inheritance, or is it not done yet, must have been eagerly awaiting this day. Ignoring me and approaching the lawyer sitting in front of her, the old me would have surely raised my voice in warning. As Lily, who turned her back to me, approached the lawyer, I couldn't stop being excited to see what she'd say next. And then, her greedy remarks exceeded my expectations, and I laughed out loud, holding my stomach. Combined with the stunned look on the lawyer's face, I continued to laugh out loud at Lily's audacity. Of course, Lily, who didn't find the situation funny, gave me a cold look. "Do you really think that you'll get your father-in-law's inheritance?" I chuckled at her obsession with money and her over-the-top attitude. Pointing to the late-arriving Dave, she raised her voice. "The right to inherit belongs to my husband, Dave." I took a deep breath, ready to enlighten her with the truth. "My name is Kelly. I am 65 years old this year. I've been a full-time housewife, supporting my doctor husband, Tosh, for a long time. Even after becoming a director, he always said, 'Never tire,' and kept working. Dave grew up watching his father and decided to follow the same path. I believe it was a happy and fulfilling life for my husband as well. However, my husband left this world at the age of 68. He was someone who was deeply passionate about his work, truly believing that being a doctor was his calling. Perhaps his sudden death was due to overworking, but at his funeral, the scene made me feel that he lived a life with no regrets. Not just his superiors and colleagues, but also subordinates and others came to the funeral. The venue was packed with people mourning him. It wasn't just medical professionals who attended. I received many condolences from patients he had treated in the past. I didn't know exactly how he worked, as I only saw the Tosh who went to and from his job every day. But realizing how much he was loved, I felt assured that he had done the right things in his life. Amidst the somber funeral, Lily, the eldest son's wife, was restless, seemingly out of place. Her face relaxed, almost as if she was rejoicing in her father-in-law's death. My suspicions were confirmed when I overheard her talking with relatives.
My father-in-law was always working. I think he might have saved quite a lot, since he probably didn't have much time to spend money.
Hearing such a statement right behind me, I couldn't believe my ears. Despite being in the middle of a funeral, it seemed that Lily was fidgeting, thinking about how her father-in-law's inheritance would be distributed. Perhaps she doesn't know that a daughter-in-law might not have any inheritance rights. Even so, I felt uncomfortable with her behavior, which wasn't appropriate for the funeral. Seeing her behavior, Dave, the eldest son, apologized to me with a guilty look.
"Mom, I'm truly sorry. No matter how many times I tell her, Lily doesn't listen."
"It's not your fault, Dave, but if you feel that way, can you please firmly warn her? Many people are attending this event." I knew about Lily's behavior even before Dave mentioned it. Remembering her inexcusable attitude, I sighed. While I was busy with my husband's funeral preparations, Lily came to the house, but she didn't help at all. Moreover, she didn't offer me any words of comfort or sympathy. To make matters worse, she was always talking about the money, asking things like, "Your husband had quite an inheritance, right? How much was it?"
Even if you're his wife, it's his inheritance, so don't waste it, okay?
What? Did you come here just to say that? Is that all you have to say?
Well, yeah. If you squander it just because you don't have long time to live, I'll be in trouble.
Anger and disbelief flooded over me as Lily spoke as if my late husband's assets belonged to her. Moreover, she always looked down on me and was sarcastic towards me. I don't know why she dislikes me so much, but her comments about other people's assets have often left me disheartened. My son, Dave, was inspired by his father and became a doctor. Dave's earnings are not bad, but Lily has always been overly obsessed with money. She'd often call me saying things like, "I'm worried about our future with Dave's low income," or "We're short on money," hinting at wanting financial help. Because of this, getting along with her was quite challenging. I used to let things slide, but this time she's targeting my husband's inheritance. I've reached my limit.
Dave's income is really unstable. So, we don't have much money to spend freely. We can't afford luxuries.
Oh, really? Why don't you walk then? That would help with the household expenses. And you could afford some luxuries, couldn't you?
What? It's ridiculous for a doctor's wife to work. You're lucky since your husband earned well and you could live comfortably.
No matter how many times I tried to advise her, her attitude only worsened and our verbal exchanges became increasingly heated. She wouldn't even hesitate to belittle her own husband, Dave, seemingly just to look down on me. From her perspective, I'm her mother-in-law, but once married, we're family. I couldn't stand the way she treated family members with such disrespect. Thanks to my husband, I've been able to live comfortably. If you desire the same, maybe you should respect and support your husband a bit more.
If there was something about Dave to respect, then maybe. Anyway, I'm off to get my nails done and have a spa day. Don't forget about the inheritance, okay? Bye now.
She just blurted out whatever she wanted and promptly left the house. Given her stormy behavior, I began to wonder how Dave was treated at home. But her self-centered actions didn't end there. During the inheritance proceedings, she continued her bad behavior, which was increasingly intolerable. Even after the funeral was over, every time she visited, she'd greet me with, "How's the inheritance coming along?" So much so, it felt like a standard greeting. Despite explaining several times that the process takes time, she either forgets or doesn't understand, and constantly pressures me whenever she sees me. I've informed her multiple times that she has no rights regarding the inheritance, but she just doesn't seem to get it. Whether she believes Dave's money is hers or has some other scheme in mind, she seems to be convinced she'll inherit a fortune. After discussing with Dave, or rather manipulating the conversation to her advantage, she probably intends to get a share of the inheritance. If that was all, it being Dave's family matter, I shouldn't interfere. However, Lily tried to steal valuable things from our house. "Lily, what are you doing? That's my necklace."
Oh, come on. Don't be so stingy. We're family, so it's okay, right?
I can't be friends with someone who would steal from me.
Fine, then. I'll take it as an advance on the inheritance. That's okay, right? I'm being patient here.
No matter how many times I told her not to act so arbitrarily, she wouldn't listen to me. From the moment she took my cherished necklace that my husband had gifted me, I couldn't stand it. After that, I never opened the door for her again. Even though Dave frequently messaged saying, "Mom, I'm truly sorry for Lily," he couldn't stop her. I gave up expecting anything from Dave or Lily. I didn't even have time to grieve the loss of the necklace my husband gifted me, as her malicious harassment continued. She seemingly bad-mouthed me to her friends and others, calling me the worst mother-in-law who won't even let her in the house. The neighbors would say, "It looks tough," with a wry smile, but they showed concern. However, I don't understand why she hates me so much. It gives me a headache. What hurt the most was a letter I found in our mailbox. I felt disgusted just by seeing the already opened envelope, and upon checking its contents, it was addressed to Dave and his wife. Whether it's Lily's idea of harassment, because I won't let her in, or whatever it was. Her credit card bill was in our mailbox. Seeing the statement, filled with extravagant expenses from luxury restaurants and online shopping, made my blood run cold. Dave, there's a credit card bill for Lily in our mailbox. It was already opened and checked. What's the meaning of this?
Huh? I have no idea.
It seems like she has spent a lot. She always talks about her income to me. Is everything okay?
Well, it's actually tough. Mom, I'm sorry to ask, but could you pay it for us?
Wanting to complain, I contacted Dave. However, whether under Lily's influence or due to the power dynamics in his household, he said something unbelievable, leaving me speechless. I wondered why I needed to help them. Why would he even think I'd assist them? He can't even retrieve the cherished necklace from his wife. What is he even saying? I also harshly criticized his behavior, which seemed to only remember things convenient for him. I've already done my part in supporting you as a parent. Why would an adult like you burden their parent and ask for help?
Well, we have Dad's inheritance, right? You won't be able to use it all by yourself. Please, I thought you'd help.
There's a saying about a thief acting brazenly after committing theft, and now I get it. Dave, you two are really a match made in heaven. I'm cutting ties. Stay away from me. I could tell from the other end of the phone that he wasn't taking what I was saying seriously. I was so furious with his attitude. After hanging up, I immediately threw the bill into the trash. The idea that Lily might have deliberately put it in our mailbox, assuming I'd pay, was unbelievable. Most of all, it's an inconceivable act and makes me question her as a person. I think you assume I haven't thought about it, but is there really a way to get the inheritance? Tosh, what should I do? Looking at my husband's photo, I picked it up and unconsciously asked that question. From my anger and disappointment towards Dave and Lily, I've lost understanding of how to handle my emotions. Is it really okay to proceed with the inheritance as it is? Amidst my insecurities, I somehow mustered up courage. I hope someday they get what they deserve. Where did my son go wrong? Frustrated by their appalling behavior, I dealt with the inheritance proceedings alone. Perhaps my feelings got through as I found out my husband had left a will, and in it, something was written. After reading the will my husband left behind, I resolved to get back at them to protect myself. Phew, I'm glad. It seems Tosh was on my side after all. Thank you. Holding back tears and pressing the will to my chest, I regained my composure. I clenched my fist, deciding I wouldn't just do nothing and let those two dictate things. I decided to wait for the right moment to make a big move against them. Maybe because I felt relieved at the thought of being able to retaliate for all the suffering, I completely forgot about the bill from Lily. I would have thrown it away from the start, not intending to pay, but she must have received a reminder. This time, I received a message from her. Even though I told that the inheritance proceedings were not yet completed, there were false accusations that I alone wanted to control everything. This was followed by words that seemed to attack me.
It's because you haven't settled the inheritance yet. I'll wait a little longer, but please do it as soon as possible. Oh, by the way, you saw the bill I left in the mailbox, right? Please make that payment.
What are you talking about? Stop joking. Why do you think you're entitled to the inheritance?
Oh, come on. Dave is the eldest son, right? It's only natural for him to get an inheritance, isn't it?
Do they think I know nothing? Lily scoffed and said with a smirk. Dave has a right to inherit because he's the eldest son. In general, this is not incorrect. Even after Lily said all this, I still haven't told them that important thing. Even if I don't tell them, it's their own problem, and they should naturally know about it. But for them, who can only think conveniently, it might be hard to realize. I'm waiting for the perfect moment when they fall apart, watching for the right timing. And finally, that time came. It was when I had explained the situation to the lawyer, and after the proceedings were finished, with his cooperation, I finalized the plan. I will contact Dave when the procedure is complete after discussing with the lawyer. To me, it's just a routine communication. But as expected, Lily came to my house with a face filled with joy. I deliberately left the front door unlocked. Without any suspicion, she opened the door and stormed in. Seeing her, I could hardly hold back my laughter.
I've been waiting for so long. Isn't it terrible? You've been reluctant to complete the procedure and won't give up the inheritance.
Oh, Lily, what brings you here?
Is this gentleman the lawyer? I am Lily, Dave's wife.
Ignoring me completely, she heads straight to the lawyer sitting in front of me. Normally, I would reprimand her for such rude behavior, but this time, I held back and waited. She turned her back on me, ignoring me, and approached the lawyer. I was even excited about what she would say next.
Finally, we will inherit this house, $3 million, and the director's position because Dave is the eldest son.
Huh?
Her greedy remark was more than I expected, and I laughed out loud, holding my stomach. The audacity of her and the lawyer's stunned face made it even funnier, and I kept laughing out loud. Of course, Lily, who didn't find the situation amusing, glared at me coldly.
Hey, what's so funny? Are you upset that we are taking the inheritance?
No, why 3 million? How did you come up with that amount?
Come on. Your husband worked as a doctor for a long time, right? He probably didn't have time to spend money. It's obvious that there's that much money. Unless, have you already used it?
I genuinely laughed at her obsession with money. Whatever I choose to do with my inheritance is my business, and she has no right to complain. However, it seems that she doesn't find the idea of me inheriting amusing.
Hello, how many times have I told you? Since you don't have much longer to live, don't do anything reckless.
Even if you're related by marriage, it's quite something to say that to me, your elder. Wasn't I the one telling you that you have no right to inherit? Lily, wearing the necklace she stole from me, glared at me sharply. I have no intention of letting her take anything more precious from me. I made up my mind not to lose to her, who is self-centered, greedy, and obsessed with money, and clenched my fist. Pointing to the late arriving Dave, Lily exclaimed loudly, "The right to inherit belongs to my husband Dave." Taking a deep breath, I decided to tell them the truth. You see, there shouldn't be any inheritance for you two to claim. Dave, isn't that right?
Huh? Why? Mom, what do you mean?
Oh, don't you have any idea? Aren't you forgetting something?
Wait, are you talking about that issue? It was resolved a long time ago, wasn't it?
Duh. What are you even talking about? Truly disappointing. What have you made amends for? What's resolved? Don't talk nonsense.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
I was taken aback by her demeanor, as if she had completely forgotten or knew nothing about the issue. Even though it was a situation she caused, it seemed she couldn't remember it. I decided to explain the situation in detail for them to understand. Dave had married Lily a few years back. However, just a little while before that, he was already married to another woman and had built a family with her. Despite having a child, he neglected his family to have an affair with Lily. The two eventually got married after their affair. The truth came out when Dave came begging Tosh, unable to pay the alimony and child support on his own.
Dave, what were you thinking? I never thought you would stoop this low.
I had no other choice if I wanted to marry Lily.
What are you saying? You're the one who committed the wrongdoing. Even if you're my son, don't expect me to pay for your mistakes. Dave, take responsibility and sort it out.
Heck, why? You can help me even a bit. As a doctor, you are constantly working and don't have time to spend money. So you must have some to spare, right?
Dave made an audacious remark, pushing my husband's anger to its peak. When Dave started making excuses about being overwhelmed with newlywed life and needing money for their wedding, my husband decided to cast aside his feelings as a parent and choose his grandchild instead.
Fine. I'll pay on your behalf. There's no need for my grandchild to suffer because of a terrible father like you.
Dad, don't say it in such a sarcastic way. I'm your son, you know.
Exactly, that's the point. And in exchange, I won't support you in any way from now on. And of course, don't expect to inherit a single thing from me.
Dave probably thought that my husband's words were just declarations made in the heat of the moment. But my husband, believing that someone who abandons their family doesn't deserve to be celebrated, neither attended the wedding nor offered any support.
Dad, just let it go. In the future, you'll rely on us for care, right? We are family. So try to compromise a bit.
No way. Why would I bother with someone like you?
Knowing that the parent had money, Dave had previously mentioned the need for future care and had requested support. However, my husband didn't listen to Dave's words, and, as he declared, he made sure it was written in his will. The will clearly stated that everything should go to his wife and grandchild. My husband, with a classical and strict personality, had meticulously written and prepared not to give even a small amount of money to Dave and his wife. The fact was known when my husband's lawyer showed the will during the funeral procedure. He said he had received the will from my husband in advance. Remembering the anger at that time brings up emotions, but I deeply thanked my husband for leaving the will.
So, even if Dave is your son, he does not have the right to inherit his father's estate.
Upon hearing the contents of the will left by my husband as read by the lawyer, Dave and his wife were astounded. I spoke to Lily in a way that added insult to injury. "Oh, by the way, Lily, you took stuff from our house, right? You said it was like an advance on the inheritance."
But
"You understood the contents of the will," the lawyer read, "right? You have no rights. So, of course, give it back. It was a gift from my husband to me." I pointed to the necklace she conveniently wore that day and said so. She threw the necklace at me with a visibly discontented attitude, clicking, hurting and glaring at me. Probably because there was a lawyer present, she couldn't say anything reckless.
I didn't hear about this. I thought I'd finally get my father-in-law's inheritance. I came all the way here today. What's going on?
Huh, really? When you announced your marriage, you said being plundered means you were more attractive, so it's inevitable, right? You knew what you were getting into when you got with him, who already had a family. I remembered how furious I was at her attitude at the time. I used to think Dave was deceived by such a terrible woman, but now I realize they are a perfectly matched couple.
I will definitely inherit. Oh, there is a hospital. It would be troublesome if the director was absent, right? This kind of succession is usually done by the son.
Oh, too bad. It's already been handed over to a competent subordinate.
Huh? Why? Isn't it normal for the son to take over?
Ha ha ha. To begin with, you're doing something that's not normal, right? It's your own doing. Realize that you're not the norm. She was desperate for the inheritance, whether it be the hospital or the house. In the end, she clung to the lawyer, asking then, "What can I get?" But the lawyer my husband had contracted wouldn't easily tell her. He repeatedly explained the contents of the will, stating the two of you have no inheritance rights, and responded calmly,
This is unbelievable. I don't believe it. It must be a mistake.
"Really? No matter how much you fuss, nothing will change. Even if you sue, you'll just end up embarrassed. If you're okay with that, feel free to do so. Perhaps finding my cold treatment unbearable, she stormed out of the house with a face as red as a boiled octopus. Watching her leave with Dave, I held the necklace and quietly pumped my fist in triumph. After that, she never contacted me or visited the house again, and the inheritance procedures were completed smoothly. I was worried that they would confront the ex-wife who has a grandchild, but Dave, who doesn't even pay child support, wouldn't know her contact details, so there seemed to be no issues. And Dave and Lily, who didn't get any inheritance, seemed to be having a big quarrel. She told Dave, "I married you thinking I would get a big inheritance from your father," and they're apparently on the brink of divorce. There's a saying, end of money, end of love, which fits them perfectly. I only received a contact once from Dave saying, "Give me the money or house you inherited," but I naturally ignored it. I exclaimed, "Don't talk nonsense while you're awake," and hung up the phone. I sighed, wondering where I went wrong raising my son. But there was also good news. A letter arrived from Dave's ex-wife stating that the inheritance procedures were completed. In it, along with an update, there was a photo of my cute grandchild and words of gratitude. "Thank you for being such wonderful grandparents. It says they're living very happily now." The grandchild my husband had been concerned about until the end is growing up healthy and living happily with her new father. There was also a lovely family photo in the letter, and although I felt guilt as a parent, my mood was brightened and my heart warmed. I was very happy and immediately read the letter in front of my husband's altar to report to him. I was continuously disappointed by Dave's actions and words. However, I was able to report to my husband about the grandchild, which always brought a smile to his face, and I was happy and satisfied